Okay, so welcome everyone to our April community call. There are at least a couple new faces here, at least new to me. Um, for those who have never joined a community call before, first I've put our agenda, which is very brief, but I will take some notes in our chat. If you can take a moment, open that up and just sign in at the top so we know who has come. We have these calls pretty much every month. They are always on a Wednesday and they are open to all interested parties. Um, they're an opportunity for people in the wider IIIF community to get together. Sometimes we have technical discussions. Sometimes we have demos of new and interesting IIIF powered implementations. And then sometimes we talk about new tools or things that are growing the IIIF ecosystem. And that's what we're going to do today. Before I hand it over to our guest today, Reiner Simon, I would like to first make a couple of announcements. The first is that registration is still open for our annual conference happening this year, June 2nd through 5th, at the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom. There's a full conference on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then we also have a free showcase and workshop happening on June 2nd. So if you will be in the UK, we would encourage you maybe to make the trip up to Leeds for that. There's a link there, and if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or message me on Slack. The other item of note is that we are offering a free workshop next month called Accessible Digitization with Digerati Manifest Editor. Right now, I think there are still 6 or 7 spots available, but that is a totally free opportunity for people who are interested in accessibility issues and implementing IIIF. More information is available at the link as well as the opportunity to register. Okay, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Reiner Simon to demo his new annotations platform, Liive.
Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen, or at least try to. So it looks like this worked.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so thanks for coming. I think I've interacted with some of the people here in the call via Slack, but for those who don't know me yet, maybe a word of introduction who I am. So my name is Rainer. That's the first name. Some would counterintuitively. Rainer is the first name. I'm a freelance software developer. I'm based in Vienna in Austria. I worked in the digital humanities for more than 15 years now. As a researcher originally, then most of my time as a research software engineer. Yeah, I worked at a place called the Austrian Institute of Technology for a long time as a research software engineer, doing work and tool development in the galleries, libraries, archives, and museum domain. Some 2-3 years ago, I switched and turned fully freelance to focus entirely on the technology and on open source. So I'm also a big fan of open source. I use open source in all of my projects, but I'm also a maintainer of multiple open source projects. One of them I've also listed here. It's called Annotorious, and the reason I want to point this out specifically is because it's a JavaScript library for image annotation, and it's also at the heart of Liive, the tool that I want to present to you today. If you want to find out more about me or want to get in touch, I also put the link to my website, reinersimon.io. It doesn't really have a lot. There's not a lot to see there, but it does have my email address. So if you want to drop me a line, feel free to do so. Good. So that brings me to my work on Liive and IIIF. So what is Liive, or why am I working on IIIF? So in my job and in my projects, I've worked with IIIF for a long time. I've worked predominantly, I would say, on the front-end side. So I'm not a back-end person. I'm not really that into, or I don't have that much expertise in setting out infrastructures or image servers. But I've also always been interested in building tools for consuming IIIF in different ways and for enabling people to just do more with IIIF. So I'm a big fan of it. And it's on the one hand, yeah, the richness of the content that's out there is exciting. So we have millions of items, they have metadata. But I think it's more than that. It's also that a collection that makes the step to open up and publish IIIF also makes a decision to make content open. And I think the openness is really the exciting part about IIIF. and the openness, not just in terms of licensing, but also giving your content away for people to use it in other tools and view and consume the content outside of the library website. And I think that's exciting. And that's kind of at the heart of many of my projects, building tools that allow people to consume IIIF in their own environments for their own use cases. So yeah, there's also a rich ecosystem of image viewers and servers, as we know, of technical utilities, of software libraries. But there's always a big but that motivated me. The viewers, I think, are really built for solo exploration. And I think that's okay, of course, because that's what you want to give people initially, like a good way to consume the content, or embeddable viewers that you can easily drop into a collection website to show the deep zoomable content to users. But yeah, they're a solo experience, and that always kind of made me think of whether we could do something more and whether we could have something that supports a more collaborative approach to IIIF content consumption. I think that there are a few tools that support research. I mean, research maybe is supported to some extent if you think about things like Mirador, where you have multiple views open to compare. So that's already, I think, catering for a research use case. Teaching, I think, is maybe less catered for in many of the tools because it already has some different requirements. And actual collaboration, I think that's clearly something where there is still a little bit of a gap. So actual collaboration around IIIF is something where I felt, there's a space for building something new. And this is where Liive comes in. So here you can see a screenshot what Liive looks like. In a nutshell, it's a simple IIIF viewer, but it gives you this kind of Google Docs-like collaborative environment. So you can see other people who are with you in the room. You can see the annotations that you can create annotations. You get live updates from the other people who create their annotations. You can reply to people's annotations. You see their cursors. You can see where they are in the document. If they switch between different pages of the document, you can follow them and so on. In terms of the core features, yeah, the core features are really simple. It gives you a live annotation environment, as I said, with instant updates. It does, I think I can say, reasonably support the standard. I mean, the standard is incredibly rich, and I really only figured that out as I went building this tool. But by now, I think a good majority of the use cases are probably working in some way in Liive. In principle, it does support presentation API versions 2 and 3. It doesn't support collections, so that's a limitation. So it has to be a presentation manifest. It does support the image API, so you can drop in those info JSON links directly for single images. And it also handles, at least mostly, level 0 tile sets, so pre-rendered tile sets pretty well, and also static images. So as soon as it has a presentation manifest or an image manifest, it should mostly work in Liive. Also, it's of course a web-based tool, so there's no downloads involved, of course, and no setup. But also, and that was very important to me when I started building it, you don't need to log in. So you can have an account, and we'll see this because afterwards we're gonna play hands-on with the tool, but you don't need an account. So it's really a thing where, and that's what I wanted to build, where you just pop in a IIIF URL and you get your collaboration room. No strings attached, basically. So who's this for? Yeah, hopefully for everyone. It's definitely for scholars, I believe. So you have an environment where you can create simple annotations. You can share, so there's no more making screenshots and sending screenshots around if you want to share something, a snippet of an image. Or you don't, usually you might, if you collaborate with people, you might go on a Zoom call and others can follow you, but they can't then interact with the image themselves, so they can't post a reply to the image directly. So I think it's just much more direct if you are a scholar and want to share your findings with the team. It's also for the educators, hopefully. So if you want to teach a class, it's a nice environment to do maybe a kickoff session with the class, and then afterwards people might contribute offline and asynchronously. Later on, you keep the room open and people can come in and add annotations on their own pace. I haven't actually seen much classroom use yet, but I know several people contacted me that they are planning to use it in the classroom. So hopefully we're going to see some classroom activity this semester. I'm really looking forward to it. I know that people have used it in more workshop scholarly fashion, so that's something that's already happening. And finally, I think it's also for the technical people, so definitely for tool builders and collection maintainers. We all know those kind of links that many collections paste into their collection websites, where you can see, okay, here's a link to the manifest, but there's also a link to open the manifest directly in Mirador, or open this object in Universal Viewer. So you can do the same thing with Liive. You could actually add a button to your collection which says, annotate this manifest in Liive. With a single button, people would click it, would get their own collaboration room and their shareable URL. So that's also something that you can easily add with basically a single link. Right. I think before I talk more, maybe we just take a look at the tool. I will paste some links into the chat. Yeah, maybe first I do a little bit of introduction first. So you will find the tool itself. Just where's the chat? Just a second. So this is the launch page of the tool. This is where you can get started. As I said, you don't need an account, but it does provide some utility to use an account, mostly that you have this kind of dashboard where you can see what your rooms are and which rooms you visited, so you don't have to bookmark them directly. So I'm going to log in quickly. For today, I looked up two example images I want to use just for playing around, really. One's from Yale Art Gallery. It's a Greek amphora. And of course, you all know many of those collections have those links here. As I said, open the Mirador or view the IIIF manifest. So really all you need to do is grab the manifest. I'm copying it here, paste it in here. It gets validated quickly. And then you click the Go Live button. And then this is what happens. So you get your room. So far, so good. Nothing much to see here. Up here, this is kind of a rooms control panel. Most importantly, there's the share button. This share button, yeah, it tells you that you can annotate together, kind of a reminder that this is a collaborative system. It also shows you nicely your link to your room. So I'm going to copy this link now. I'm going to paste it in the chat. And that's actually all you need. So if you click this link, you can come into my room and we can already annotate together. So I hope that some of you will jump on this into this session. Yeah, people are arriving. Yeah, very nice. So you can already see the people coming in, the cursors. Yeah, down here you can see who's present. You can see the cursors. And up here on the right, yeah, actually I don't need to explain, people are finding it already. Yeah, so you have shape drawing tools, rectangle, polygon, and circle. That's the current state. The tool will grow in the future. I'm just gonna drag a box here. You open it up, you get a text input. So, and if someone else wants to look here, so you can also reply. Let's see if anybody wants to reply. Let's see. In terms of the text box, it supports all the usual features. So it's a rich text editor. You have simple things like bullet lists. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. You can do basic formatting, the usual stuff. Also, yeah, I think it does markdown code. So if you use this kind of markdown codes for this bold, it will do bold formatting, or yeah, pretty much the usual things for a for a rich text editor. That's all there is at the moment. Tagging will come later. So at the moment, I'm keeping it just simple. Also, I want to listen to what people want in terms of input modalities. But yeah, that's the current state. Other things to look at, up here, important. So this is the countdown timer. So just to say, all rooms that you create initially are temporary. So they erase automatically after a set time. If you create a room without being logged in, that's 4 hours. If you have a login and an account, then it's tied to your account for 24 hours, but then it deletes. You can also make this permanent. So I'm gonna do this quickly to show how this works. So the Liiive room will take you back to your dashboard or to the front page if you're not logged in. So you can see, okay, I now have the room in my list. And there's a little settings icon. And I can switch this between a temporary and a permanent room. Permanent simply means that the clock stops as soon as you switch it back to permanent. As soon as you switch it back to temporary, the clock starts ticking again and it will auto-delete. Right, what else? In terms of controls, yeah, the usual things. You can rotate, you can zoom. Up here, you have the drawing tools we already talked about. You can delete an annotation, of course. You also have undo and redo. Yeah, pretty much the basics. Down here, maybe that's also something I should mention. So yeah, you have the control to flip between pages. The info will show you the manifest metadata. So that just repeats the metadata as it is in the manifest. And if you open if you click this button, it will open the thumbnail strip. Again, pretty much the same thing as you're used to from Mirador, only with the kind of nice added bonus of having the presence, user presence icon. So you can see who's on which page. So I might join here. Ben is here. Yeah. You'll also see those little icons here. So that's basically tells you that if you're on a specific page, then people are like ahead of you and behind you. And you can also use this, I think, to jump directly. Let's try this. So if you click down here, you'll jump to the next page that has people on them. So you can follow people along. Right. I think that's pretty much the user interface. There's not much more to say about the interface, but of course you should feel free to play around longer and also afterwards, of course. And I'll let you play while I'll continue my talk. So I'll switch back to my slides, but please feel free to play more. I also have another image that I wanted to share actually. So just to say, I'm a big map fan. I love maps, and also for annotation, they are great because there's so much detail. There are many place names that you might want to annotate or transcribe. So I think maps are really a prime use case for annotation. And this has really brought me into the whole IIIF annotation world to begin with. So I also brought one of these examples from the Huntington library. So I also create a room here. So grab the URL, create a new room. And I'll again share the link to this room in the chat. Right. Yeah, feel free to go ahead and listen to me with one ear. I'm going to go back to my slides now. So maybe a bit of context and also talking a little bit about the next steps that I have planned, or that, yeah, plan is a bit of a big word. Just to say, I mean, everything's open, right? So Liiive for me is a side project. I built this as a hobby. I launched it end of last year. So basically finished it up in the Christmas break. Worked on it through the last fall, and then again kept working on it through January and February mostly. Now I took a little bit of a break to work on more paid work as a freelancer. But yeah, it's built out of passion and curiosity on the one hand for the materials and IIIF as such, but also because I'm really fascinated by these kinds of real-time web technologies. So it's the kind of the nerd passion for playing with all nice new JavaScript stuff. And I find it pretty amazing how much you can do in terms of real-time enabling an application with actually very little kind of effort. So that's definitely something that has motivated me and keeps me going. But yeah, it's a side project. I'm building it on weekends and evenings. But on the other hand, as a freelancer, you work on weekends and evenings anyway, so not much of a difference really. It is work in progress, as I said. So I have some plans for kind of immediate next features. There's a point drawing tool upcoming, for example. There's some work around interfaces and integration, and by that I mean technical interfaces, so interaction between the tool and collection systems or learning management systems. So that's something that I'm looking into. but also easier things like making the annotated images more easily reusable in external tools themselves. So for example, that's a new feature that's already there, but not documented yet. And that's that permanent rooms have their own manifest URLs. So basically you can have a permanent room and there is a URL that you could just stick into the Theseus viewer or universal viewer, and you always get a kind of a live manifest with the current annotations. Yeah, so that's an easy way to reuse the annotated materials outside of Liive. And the manifest that you get from Liive is essentially a copy of the original, just with the Liive annotations added in. Yeah, so there are some plans that I have, but really nothing is set in stone. I have plenty of ideas, but I also would like to wait a little bit and see people play with it, wait for feedback and what people really want to guide my next steps. So that's the plan. Making it up as I go, really. Some of you might have scrolled down, so there is also a paid plan, and I want to talk a little bit about that and why that's there. So yeah, it is essentially a commercial service. As I said, I built it out of passion, but I would like to at least make a little bit of money so that I can fund the operations. So for now, I'm paying for it, and it does cost money because there is some real-time infrastructure behind it. But at the moment, as long as traffic is low, it's almost nothing. So that's something that I'm happy to pay for in the long run. If traffic grows, I'm hoping for that it does. I still think it's going to be sustainable because, I mean, sustainability is a big question, of course, but I think it can easily be sustainable because the way it's built, a handful of paying customers will be enough to simply sustain the operations, and that's all that's all that's needed here. What you get when you buy a pro account, also I'd like to say that, is more storage space. So you're not buying any extra features. The features are there for everyone. I'm not sure whether it's going to stay like that forever because there's also going to be things like room management and group and access management. Maybe there might be some features that will fall into a paid plan eventually. But for now, my plan is definitely to give everybody all the features. And when you pay, you're supporting the operation, but you're also just purchasing storage space, really. So it's the number of permanent rooms. For the free accounts, you only have one permanent room. If you switch off a permanent room, you can make another room permanent. So it's only about how many rooms at a time you can have permanent. And for the free account, that's one room. For the pro account, it's 50 permanent rooms at a time. You may also see that if you scroll down, there's something called the institutional plan. The institutional plan is something I absolutely have no idea what it means. It's a placeholder, but it's just a hint or kind of an invitation. If you're an institution and you have any idea of saying, yeah, I somehow want to integrate this with my collection system, maybe have permanent rooms that I fund for my users. I don't know. So anything, if you have an idea, please do get in touch, and I'm definitely sure we'll find a way to work something out. Be it a dedicated instance for you or some tailored storage option. I haven't really thought about what, but I'm happy to chat about it. Yeah, that brings me pretty much to the end of my presentation already. One important thing, and that's more than just kind of a standard statement at the end, I want to say, if you're using Liive, please do reach out. For me as a developer, it's actually quite hard to see what people are doing. There is no tracking in there simply because I haven't built any kind of analytics. I might add something, completely anonymous, of course, but just to see what people are doing. At the moment, I don't. And even once the tracking would be there, it's really hard to kind of debug these kind of collaborative sessions. Just recently, for example, I got the report that somebody has lost some annotations because they were doing this alone, like only one person in the room. They were on a train, they lost connection, they got connection again, they lost it again, and then they lost annotations. And that shouldn't happen, and it should, of course, work. But yeah, these are kinds of situations that are really hard for me to debug without actually seeing them or hearing about them. So for me, it's really important. If you're using it, do get in touch. If you have problems, don't hesitate. Really reach out whenever you have a problem. If you just want to reach out to tell me that you like it, that's also great, of course. But yeah, everything helps. Every kind of feature idea, any needs, yeah, and any friction point, whatever. You can reach out to me directly or via the Slack channel from the IIIF Slack. But also, I'd like to point out this URL here. I'm just going to paste it also in the chat. So there is a user forum. I set up a small kind of user forum for Liive, and people are starting to post there, which is nice. I get notifications when somebody posts there. So if you have something general you want to say or ask for advice or have a feature idea, then definitely also don't hesitate to reach out through the user forum. Yeah, and that's it. So thanks for coming. It was a great opportunity. Thanks also, Caitlin, for having me and giving me the chance to talk about Liive here. I listed some links here. I think what's most important, of course, is the last one, just the link to the tool itself. But also there's something called a blog. It's really just occasional articles that I write. So whenever I build a new feature or add something or want to say something about the tool, I post a link, I post an article there. So that's something you might want to look into. There's a nice introductory article on what Liive does and how to use it. There is also an article that I posted recently about how to create those annotate with Liive links if you want to integrate it with your collection. So there's also an article where you can just copy and paste the code snippets. Yeah, there's the user forum. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Blue Sky and Mastodon. I'm no longer on Twitter, but yeah, I'm posting mostly about my work, which is not always Liive, but it's almost always annotation and IIIF. So if you want to follow me there, yeah, I'm also happy to get to talk about my stuff to a wider audience. And that's it, I think. Caitlin, I would hand back to you, but otherwise, I'm happy to hear your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have some time for Q&A. Typically what we do is it's not an enormous group, so if you have a question, you can feel free to just unmute and start talking. However, if that's something that you would just rather not do, feel free to type it into the chat and then I'll read it out for you. Before we get into it, I see that Sandra posted a question, which is, could Liive potentially be integrated with a collections management systems accessible via a browser for team collaboration?
Yes, as I said, I mean, the devil's always in the details, so we would need to think about what exactly the workflow would look like. But as I said, I'm happy to talk about that. But in principle, yeah, if you have kind of this loose coupling where you just have a link that says, I have my object page and I have a link below. There's a link says open in Mirador, and below it is a link says annotate in Liive. You can click that and it will spawn a collaboration room. And there's two ways of doing that. One way is that if you click the link, every click will open a new room. So every user who clicks the link gets their own collaboration space. But there is also a way to send everybody into the same room. So if you say it's like a small kind of project or research project, and I just want to have a link and say, everybody on this call, now click that link, and then everybody would go to the same room. That's also possible. That's what's currently there. But anything else, I think, is really up for discussion, and I'm happy to hear ideas and requirements. On local manifests. So sorry, can you, Sandra, maybe talk about what local manifests are? Do you mean you just have the JSON file? Yes.
No, hi. Yeah, no, just stored in the local IIIF server that's connected to the database, basically. So you have the object records, and those object records are connected to manifest to like a workflow of generating manifests automatically with a set of metadata. So just pulling those from the collections management system directly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as the manifests are on the web, it should work.
Okay.
If it's really something that's like only on a test system, there might be some glitches, but as long as the manifests are on the web, it will work.
Yeah, so it would have to be like in a private, in a public server. It wouldn't be able to have it in a private server because it has to run in a public browser.
So I would have to double check that, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to double check, but it might actually work. But I'd have to double check.
Brilliant, thank you.
Most of the application actually runs in your browser. There is a backend, of course, but most of the stuff actually runs only in your browser. So as long as the browser can access it, it might work, but there might be some, yeah, I'd need to double check. But feel free to get in touch with me afterwards and we can maybe
Thank you. I will.
test it.
Thank you. Since I'm here, sorry, can I just ask in terms of creating an output of the work being done in each room? You said that we can export it in a manifest format.
Yeah.
Do you envision any other format to export it? I know it's kind of a tricky one, but I'm thinking more about people that are not so technical, but would still
Absolutely.
like to have to keep that work as well.
Absolutely. Yes. So I totally agree. Manifests are great, and they make a manifest just works in something like Mirador. But if you're a scholar specifically, you might want different formats. So I'm definitely thinking of offering an Excel export. So that's something that I hopefully can build at some point. And that would give you all your annotations, like one annotations per row with all this data that you have, plus the image snippet. So that would be like the
Okay.
kind of the annotated image would be part of the Excel export. So that's
Okay.
something I'm planning. I can't really give you a firm date, but yeah, so that's something that I'm thinking about.
Oh,
But if
that's
you have-
great. So you'd have like the tile plus the annotation. So
Exactly.
yeah, I like that.
You
Thank
have
you.
the image snippet plus
Yeah.
all the data that's in the annotation. But
Okay.
if you have any other ideas, again, please feel free to get in touch. I'm happy to hear.
I will do. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, the external annotation page. So there is a download. Yeah, Diego, thanks for the question. So the external annotation page you can download as a file. I'm not 100% sure whether it's already fully spec compliant. I haven't tried it yet, but it's also a good point. Yeah, definitely also a good target format.
Thank you, Rainer.
Going to the
Anyone
chat.
else?
Kind of
I have it.
thinking. Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
please go, Sandra. Yeah.
No, I was actually thinking if it could be another use, perhaps in an exhibition context where you could create the annotations beforehand and then make it interactive so visitors could explore the annotations more like sort of a storytelling sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yes, I love this idea. And people have already come to me asking for read-only rooms. So basically, this might go into the same direction. So you create the annotations first, and then you switch the room to read-only so that people can explore the annotations, but they can't change them anymore. So it's more like publishing an output on the web. So that's also something I would like to add, hopefully soon. It's probably a smaller change, so that might actually come earlier because it's easier to do. But yeah, I also like this idea, and I would love to see people building like editions, or at least lightweight kind of edition-y things, or maybe even small collections.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Following up to your question, Sandra, does it right now support already existing annotations? So we'll actually load them from a manifest and show them as like part of things people can edit? Or existing
Yeah.
annotations are going to be static or not show at all?
So it does to some extent. I have not advertised this yet because I'm still testing and it's still brittle. But and let me think. I think it might only work for Presentation API version 3 at the moment. But yes, if a presentation manifest has annotations, it will render them, or at least it's supposed to render them. They kind of stay part of the manifest initially, but as soon as you click them, they sort of get promoted to an editable annotation that's also synchronized across. So it does work like that you have your annotations from the manifest and they become editable as soon as you touch them. Let me think. Yeah, there might be some limitations on the shapes, but in principle, I support all the fragment selector, and I think I should support pretty much every SVG selector. There are also limitations on the body payload. As long as it's just a comment body, it should work. So if it's an HTML comment body, it should also display the message correctly. Yeah, maybe I can,
I can test. I mean, I can test because our annotations are built by Annotorious, right? So like it's basically your own system, right? But our IIIF
Which doesn't mean
manifest,
it works.
and yeah, it's totally okay. But like our manifests tend to be like really huge, which is like my second question. We have like right now this like kind of longer term discussion, right? It's like to which limit, right? A IIIF presentation manifest is actually manageable at the front end, right? So we have like scrapbooks that have like 1,500 pages, right? So I was thinking about like collaboration in that sense because they're actually already annotated, right? And they have like OCR over,
Yeah.
right? They have like content search API, and they have also like machine learning annotations, right?
Yeah.
So the question goes to like not showing off that we're like having trouble with that. Is mostly about like when you have a collaborative room of this, the size of the manifest will affect the user interface of multiple users working around. Are you catching the size of that thing, or is actually everyone running their own version of that?
So the way it works is everybody downloads the manifest, and there's no way around it. But only the annotations that users touch are actually synchronized. So in principle, I think the architecture should support it, because there wouldn't be more traffic just because you have many annotations in the manifest. Only if people actually work on 1,500 annotations actively themselves. And even then, maybe it's not that bad because it's not like a bulk, but people would start trickling in and so. But definitely, I would love to, if you can share one of those manifests with me, I'd love to try that.
Yeah,
So
let's keep talking. Yeah, let's totally
absolutely.
keep talking.
And I think I totally agree. I mean, that's, I think, an excellent use case where if you work with outputs from OCR or any other kind of AR process stuff where there's lots of annotations and you might want to just take a look or correct them. Yeah, or just collaborate in viewing them. So I think that's really a great use case. But in principle, I'm hopeful that this would work.
Yeah, thank you.
So Matt has a question. Would there be an advantage to supporting collections in a live space?
Yeah, I'm open for ideas here. The way I thought about it is that collections would mostly be, you come in with a collection and then Live would ask you to pick a manifest from that collection or a set of manifests. Maybe you would want to have something like a folder organization in the dashboard so that actually the manifests are organized by the collection, but I haven't really thought through the whole thing. But yeah, if you have ideas, I'm interested to hear them.
Okay, you need to donate money, Rainer button. So people can actually like donate directly without actually like paying for the subscription, like small donations, because I can actually see like it's from the perspective of someone like running a lot of backend, how this can actually grow into like something that might become expensive for you to manage, right?
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, there are several services in the backend, and there is all but one running on the free plan. So there's one service I need to pay for and very little. If traffic grows crazily, I'll drop into the paid plans for all the services, but I'm not so much worried at the moment. I think there might be some natural growth anyway, and yeah, as a person who's working in digital humanities, we hardly ever get millions of users, to be honest. Although it might be different, who knows? But yeah, if you want to donate, you can always buy a paid plan and not use it, you know.
Well, can I just ask something else? Well, since you're talking about eventually having a paid plan, or I think one of the main kind of concerns or the things that people working on this think about is long-term preservation in access. So how are you thinking about this? Because currently, I think with this plan, you have to save the URL for the room somewhere, so you don't lose it. But if you came to have an authentication, a login, you'd be able to have your own space and save your rooms per project or whatever criteria. Are you thinking about this when you're thinking about kind of growing it into a user-based, like login-based format?
You can log in, so you can log in, and then you would get this dashboard where you can see the rooms that you have. I would still never consider it like a long-term system, right? If you want to use this as part of a collection and an actual workflow, you'd have to get the annotations and the results back and store them. So I'd much rather work on adding more interfaces that make it easier to get the data out than making guarantees on the storage. I mean, in the backend, it's really just an ordinary database, and the annotations are stored in storage buckets. So it's pretty ordinary web backend technology. So pretty much any interface can be built. But if I'd say if a collection comes and says we want to use this as our production system, I think there would have to be some kind of process that regularly backs up this data into a safer storage option than Liiive itself.
I think you'll be surprised. I think it will grow.
Hopefully, we're hoping it.
I hope so.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
If not, if there's anything that occurs to you afterwards, as I said, I think you're probably all on the Slack, so you can send me a message there, or otherwise I'll just drop an email.
Yes, and I think I caught most of the links and put them in the agenda, which will be
Perfect.
is available to people.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can't find Reiner, you can certainly find me, and I can point you in the right direction. So thank you so much, Reiner, for the demo. I suspect that we probably will have a few more questions as people have some time to play around and ruminate on this. I can see Ben, who leads our education group, considering that. So thank you. This is recorded. I will release a recording hopefully by the end of this week, and then we will see you all again in May for our next call. Thank you.
And just one thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Guillaume. I just noticed that I messaged all my messages just to Guillaume, and he reposted them to the public channel. So thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.